Hello everyone. So today in this video we are going to see how Spring Cloud Starter Console works with microservices and what's the purpose of it. So let's start. Basically Spring Cloud Console is a project which provides the easy integration with console for Spring Boot applications. So what exactly happens is, or what's the problem, like why we are going to use Spring Console is, we need to define certain properties in application.properties or application.yml or either bootstrap.properties. So what happens is, whenever we compile our project and build our project into a jar or war file and just deploy it in the Spring environment or in the Java environment, so if we need to make any changes in the properties file or in the config, then we again need to again build the jar war and again need to deploy it. So basically console is a product developed by the hashicorp. So it provide a easy way, we can configure and we can maintain a centralized configuration with the help of key value store that it provides. Apart from the configuration management that console provides, console is a tool that it also provides and resolves the common challenges that we have in microservices architecture. So it provides a way of service discovery, health checking, and the distributed configuration that I have already told you, so that it ensures all those services instances run the same configuration. And one more thing is that in Spring Console, let's understand by this scenario. Suppose I am working on a monolithic architecture. So you can see that I have 4 services deployed. So for each services I have certain configuration defined with each services, and if I need to change a specific configuration, then I need to go to each service and I need to just change all those configuration. Apart from properties file, look, we do db configuration. If we want to connect to a database, we need to define certain port or certain different type of configuration we define in properties file. So if I need to change in any property or config, I just need to go to that service and then I need to again build and again then redeploy. So that's a time taking process. So with Spring Console, what we can do is we just defined a centralized configuration in key value store that hashicorp console provides, and then we just bind our services to that console, and we just need to only change it to console, and we just need to refresh our project or restart our environment, and then the configuration will be applied to our project. Okay, so as I already told you, the problem is that we are taught that in application related configuration need to store in application.properties file or bootstrap, but if we need to change a value, then we need to again rebuild our project and again redeploy that project. So that consumes developers time and deployment, other all those things, kind of a time consuming process. So solution is like we go for a console that has been developed by the hashicorp. So why console key values? Because it's eliminates the code leaks. We just deploy, or sorry, we just have our all configuration at the centralized configuration. Okay, so let's start and let's see what this hashicorp console is. So suppose if we are going to test console, so basically there are two ways. Either you can, first way or first step is you can do with the Docker, and the second one is I'm just going to download this console at my local and set up at my local environment. So you can do in both way. I'm just going to do with the step 2, that is downloading the console at my local environment and set up at my local environment. So I'm using a Macintosh based system, so I'm just going to download it. For by clicking on this button, you can go to this console.io. I'm also going to share the URL so that you can go to this website and download the console. Apart from key value store, there are many other things that console also provide. Service discovery is one of the features of console that it provides, and key value is more popular feature of console. So there are things that helps in microservices architecture or environment to resolve certain problems. And whenever we need to make any changes, or when we push that out in real time, all of our services going to this console, giving them a constant view. Okay, so like we are having uh, kind of distributed configuration everywhere to defining or managing it centrally in a single monolithic architecture, like we do, like defining again and again and just rebuilding and deploying it on the environment. So let's start, and I have just opened this downloads page of console. So if you are using a Windows based operating system, you just need to download either 86 environment you are using or AMD 64. So as I have told you, I am using Mac OS based system, so I'm just going to download this. Either you can download the binary and just click on this console and just directly install this, or either you can just copy these two commands. So I'm just going to open my terminal. So before going to install in Mac OS, you just need to verify that you guys have homebrew or brew installed on your machine. So to verify that, you just need to click on here, typing brew. So as you can see, I have installed brew in my Mac OS machine. So for installing brew, you just need to go to google.com and just type brew install Mac, and you just need to go to this homebrew official website and just you need to copy this. Okay, you just need to copy this. Okay, and then after copying and after installing the homebrew, you just need to define this in your bash profile or ZShell, depending upon your system. So if your Mac OS is using the bash profile, then you need to go to bash profile and just define the property here. But as I am using ZShell, then I'm just going to go to .zshenv file and I'm just going to define the path here. Okay, after defining the path and after installing the homebrew. Okay, so I'm just doing this for the Mac OS based system. For Windows based system, you guys don't need to have to install this brew. Okay, you just need to download that console and you just need to go to your Windows Explorer, and above you just need to type cmd in the Windows Explorer, and you just need to run the command to start your console. So I'm just going to do this for the Mac OS based users. Okay, so you can verify the same, like brew is installed on your machine is not, by going to Macintosh system and just go to, I'm just going to display the hidden files. opt is the folder, and then homebrew, you can see I have installed my homebrew, and you need to give this path in your ZShell environment file or bash profile, depending upon your architecture. You need to see like which profiling you are using. Okay, so coming back to console, after installing the homebrew, you need to just copy these two commands. I have already installed console on your machine, so I'm just not going to again do this. Brew tab hashicorp tab, this command you need to first copy, and then you need to install the brew install hashicorp tab console. So some of the problems you guys may have occur after copying this file brew install hashicorp, your machine or your console, this terminal console, not the console, this terminal would say for Mac OS based user, like your command line tool is outdated. Okay, this usually happens because if you guys have updated to your new Mac OS, like suppose I'm earlier using the Mac OS Big Sur and I am just updated to Ventura 13.0, and now what happen is my terminal will be outdated. So I just need to again update my terminal, and then this command will install the hashicorp console. Okay, so after installing this hashicorp console, we can now start our console. So first we just need to go and start this using this console agent. Okay, so one more thing is you just need to copy paste this command here and just need to see what IP address you guys are having. So if you are using the Windows based operating system, I'm just going to again delete this. If you are using the Windows based operating system, you need to check what IP address you guys are using. So the command is ipconfig, and if you are going to use Macintosh OS, Macintosh system, I'm also going to give you these commands in the video description, so you can just copy all those commands and start your console. So for the Mac OS based system, if you are using the Ethernet based, so for the Ethernet based, the command is this. So with this you can check, and if you are using the Wi-Fi connection, then you can use this command and see what your IP address is. I'm just going to see what my IP address is. 192.168.1.2. this is my IP address. Okay, I'm just going to paste it here, and I'm just going to run this command and see if my console starts or not. Okay, so my console has been started. How you can verify is, after writing this command, you can see starting console agent, version is 1.13.3, build date is this one, node name is this, as I have started on my local host, my IPv4 address, and the server is boot true, the server has been started, client address is this, and all this has been started. The thing is that you can verify this by going to localhost 85. You can see that my console has been started, and this is the view that you can see. Okay, so my console has been started, you guys can see. And now what we can do is, we need to go to the Spring Boot and we need to start our console, and we need to create our project. So let's go to the Spring Boot, and I'm just opening my project, and first I'm just going to stop this console to show you guys if we have any exceptions or error, then you must resolve that also. So I'm just going to stop this console, so you guys must have a better idea about this. So I'm just going to create project Spring Boot console and package name, and I'm just going to group ID, package name, and just description, demo for Spring console. Just going to click next, and I'm just going to select some of the dependencies that I'm going to use in my console project. So I'm just going to use Spring Web, and okay, Spring Boot DevTools, Lombok. Okay, I don't need Lombok as of now. Console configuration. So I'm just going to use 3 dependencies. Spring Boot DevTools is optional for you, because I'm just going to create a small project to familiarize you guys with how Spring console works. So you can deselect this also. So console configuration and Spring Web is must have. So you guys must have installed or add those dependencies in your pom.xml. So I'm clicking next and finish. Now this project has been created here. Okay, and I'm just going to open this file, Spring Boot application, and now let's start and run this. Okay, so our application has been stopped because there are certain exceptions, or this has been thrown. That is why I have stopped this console to show you guys like why this application failed to start, and you guys have the clear and better idea like how we need to define those configurations. Okay, so it says like no Spring config import property has been defined, and action add a Spring config import console property to your configuration, or if you need to disable this, check set Spring Cloud console config enable equal to false. So I'm just going to Spring project and application.properties. I'm just going to disable this, okay, console, because I need to test if my application starts or not, my Spring Boot applications. Okay, so now I can see my Spring Boot application has been started, and now I'm again going to stop this application and see. So you might have seen in previous Spring console description, or many wikis on internet, like we need to define configs in the bootstrap.properties. But let me show you and open the pom.xml. I'm using the latest version of Spring Boot 2.7.5 and the Spring console latest version 2021.0.4, or Spring Cloud version, not the console, sorry. So the change that has been done in Spring console is it gives the priority, or it gives the preference to application.properties, not the bootstrap.yml or bootstrap.property. So if you now define the bootstrap.properties or bootstrap.yml, then it will neglect those properties and it will again show you that exception if you define all those properties in bootstrap.yml or properties. So you need to now define in your application properties. I will also share you that Spring Cloud Console URL or the doc that has been defined by the Spring, or the latest update that Spring has defined. So I'm just going to click on this distributed configuration with console that we are currently using. So here we can see how to activate. Okay, so here Spring 4 boot 2.4 introduced a new way to import configuration data via spring config.import properties. Okay, so we need to now, if we need to import our configuration data from the console, we need to also define this property, and that's what the error the Spring Boot has thrown in console. Okay, so we need to also define this property in application.properties. Okay, and again it says we need to define this in application.properties, and also it says earlier like this will connect in console agent. This is the localhost port number 8500 through which we can connect to console. And also that I have already told you that earlier we define our properties in bootstrap.yml or bootstrap.properties, but now we need to enable those properties in application.properties, otherwise it will not run. So you can understand and read this documentation provided by Spring Cloud Console and have the better understanding of it. As per the latest version, Spring Cloud has released these docs. Okay, so coming back to the Spring Tool suite, I am going to enable this true because we need to enable our configuration, and I'm just going to create one controller here, REST controller, import this file, and I'm just going to create one property or one configuration class, name it as application config, defining it as component, importing the annotation. I'm going to define one instance, and just going to generate the getter and setters for this. I'm going to annotate this with value. So why I'm annotating this with value? So with this value, now this will get that value from the console. So dollar curly braces, and in this curly brace I'm going to define data message, and there's one more annotation I'm also going to write, that is refresh scope. Okay, so this refresh scope annotation I have written here. So basically this refresh scope is annotation is basically used in this class. So it says like if any changes in the console we do, then we need to restart our Spring Boot application. But with this refresh scope, it will immediately refresh the values in this application without even restarting the Spring Boot application. So with this annotation you can change in console your properties, and without restarting your application you can do so. Okay, so now coming back to the main application Spring Boot, I'm going to define this auto wired and application conf. Okay, I have written the wrong spelling. Okay, I have auto wired this. Now I'm going to define one get data message and application config and just defining the get mapping for this. Get data message. Okay. This is showing some kind of error. Okay, I haven't put the return statement. Okay, return application config dot get data message. Okay, so I have defined the REST controller. I have defined the controller and I have auto wired that application config here, and I have defined the simple get API that will that is going to get that message from the console and will be displaying through our API. Okay, so it's just a simple API. I'm running it to get those properties from config that I'm showing you, and just opening this application config. Okay, so I have set it here. Now in the application dot properties, I need to set certain properties. The first one that I have shown you, in this we need to set this properties that has been defined after Spring Boot 2.4. We need to import this property, to import the config data. Earlier we do not have to import this property, as using this property the configuration with console is going to import. Okay, so I'm just going to my application dot properties, and so basically this what this property means, spring.config.import, this optional means that the default port or the default host and port for console is localhost colon 8500. But if you remove this optional, then if you guys don't have that localhost 8500, then this will going to fail through your exception, and fail first will be true. So with this optional, it is going to run only if your URL would be localhost 8500. Okay, so there are some other properties that we need to also define. So I have just written those properties here already, so I'm just going to copy from my notes. And okay, so we need to rename or name our application Spring Boot console, the same that I have written here. Okay, and we need to import that config. We need to enable Spring console config. We need to provide the config name here, and we need to provide the host and port. So these two doesn't requires, but if you want to give, you can also give, because these two config has less precedence. If we need to give config, you need to if you need to add host and port, you can also do here. In this way you can also do an attaching optional. Okay, so I'm just going with this way only. You can also do that. Okay, so now I'm just going to console, and I'm going to create my key values. Okay, so you need to go to key values, and you need to create. So you need to create a folder. So how we can create a folder? Config and slash. Okay, so it's saying something. Okay, is my key has been okay. Now I understand why it's showing me error. Let's reload this again. You can see that I have stopped that my console earlier while doing the Spring Boot project. So I'm just going to run it again. Okay, my console has been started. Now I'm again going to reload this page. Now I'm going to create. So every time this console or key value pair or key value data is not going to store on your local machine, so do not worry about this space and other cookies or cache issues. This is going to be stored in console server. Okay, so every time you start and stop your server, this key value or store will be refreshed. Okay, so every time you need to create this. So I'm going to create one folder, config. This folder is by default, or the default folder that you need to name it config. Okay, so inside this I'm going to create my another folder, my application name folder. So my application name is Spring Boot console slash. So I have created here. Inside this I'm going to create that key through which I am going to fetch my value that I have defined here, data message. Okay, I'm going to write it hello spring console, and through my get API I'm going to call this. Now I will start my Spring Boot project. You can see my Spring Boot project has been started, and now I'm going to 8080 get data. Okay, so you can see my API connected to that console and fetched the data from that key value, and it provided me the response. But if go to the application properties, and if you try to write all this property in bootstrap.properties, then it will again give you that error, because it says that you need to import this property, okay, to import the data from console. But if you write all these properties in bootstrap.yml, then it will again throw you an error, because I have already told you that after Spring Boot 2.4 version, the application.properties, in this we need to give all those config and properties of cloud in this property file. Okay, so the precedence has been changed, and as per this documentation you can read this doc, and you can see what all other changes we have done in console. So that's it for today, guys. Today we have seen how Spring Cloud Starter Console work with key value. In next video we are going to see how that discovery service works, and how we use service discovery with this console. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much, guys. Have a nice day.